I promised it to you to start the show, and now my promise comes to fruition. In 1999, Brandi Chastain was a member of the U.S. women's national team, really put herself on the map when, in the World Cup final, the World Cup that year played in the United States, in the World Cup final in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, more than 95,000 people watching in the stadium, millions more across the world. She really solidified her legacy in women's soccer history by hitting the PK that gave the United States its second World Cup, the first one being in 1991, the second one in 1999. It's the last one that the United States women's national team has won. And we have, in large part, Brandi Chastain to thank for that. Got the chance to talk with her earlier today. Wish we could bring her to you live this evening, but she had some time constraints put on her, as you can imagine this time of year, for both a soccer analyst and someone who has her hands in all things that are soccer across this country. Got the chance to talk with her earlier this morning, and asked her this for starters. Disappointment was the overwhelming emotion when the U.S. was put out of the World Cup. I just mentioned that, which really leads one to believe, folks, that expectations existed, right? And so I asked Brandi if she thought that the U.S. men's national team, the U.S. men's national program, is at a place where expectations of winning big should exist. Are those expectations fair?
Oh, that's a great question, and I feel that on some levels the answer is yes, and I believe on other levels the answer is no. I think ultimately we have a part of the equation right, which is, we understand that we're going to have to play hard, we're going to have to dig deep, we're going to have monumental effort, but then again, that should be the common denominator, and so I guess the no part is that we still need to find and develop young players who can sustain and handle the pressure that comes at this elite level and be able to keep the ball, move the ball. We haven't found that player yet out there that is a game changer like a Messi or a Neymar. And I know that player exists in this country. We have to encourage our young players to have a relationship with the ball that, goes beyond just, kicking the ball at practice for a couple hours a day. It's, literally these kids spending time with the ball on their own. And that's coming. I think after the amount of exposure that this World Cup has had, the chatter on social media, the social media analytics that SAP is giving to us, that the trend for soccer is on an all-time high, exponentially more so than it ever has been, we're going to find those kids because now they're invested in this World Cup in a way they never have been before.
Do you like the idea of Major League Soccer when a new team comes into the league, and Atlanta is getting a new team in 2017, they are requiring that the owner of the team also open up an academy to develop young talent with the idea that you get the rights to that player should they be good enough to be in the MLS. Do you like that, or do you think that a little too much where soccer is concerned in this country?
Well, I think actually it works in the favor of Major League Soccer, and hopefully we will find out over time if that works in the favor of the young player as well. What I like about it is that it gives a structured system, and hopefully what will happen is that we'll start training these young players in a way that helps them develop the necessary skills that we're so coveting from these international stars around the world that help those teams get closer to that World Cup trophy. And, again, I don't want to be a hypocrite because, I am preaching development. I'm preaching safety amongst kids. I want our kids to have a long and enjoyable, sustained career through soccer, whether that becomes, a college career, a professional career, a national career, or just one for enjoyment. So development for me is really important. The winning part at the national team is inherent to why you have the national team. You want to produce the best team so that you can go on to win these big World Cup championships. But the winning part is secondary to the development for me and will come when we do our necessary due diligence to make it happen.
That's a nice segue. Now, you obviously have a bias when it comes to soccer, being on World Cup teams, U.S. women's national teams and gold medal winning teams and whatnot. You obviously have a bias. So share with our listening audience why you think soccer should be the sport for our young people.
Oh, geez. There's so many things that I've learned in soccer, that I've witnessed in soccer, that I have shared in soccer, that I know what it can give to a person off the field. These are inherent to team sports, I think, and soccer specifically. Teamwork, decision-making under pressure, leadership qualities and skills, time management, spatial awareness, physical and demanding activity, health and wellness. These are just some things that I know that through soccer I learned without really me knowing. These were byproducts of going to practice every week and being with my teammates, having disappointment, swinging and missing the ball, missing the goal, falling down, getting up, being injured, making the team, not making the team. All these things have developed me in a way that I can see the big picture, that when necessary, I can handle disappointment, or when given the opportunity, can step up to take that penalty kick in a calm and composed manner. So, soccer, there are so many byproducts of this game, and again, with the trend that we're seeing through social media, the software that SAP uses to analyze the data shows that it's at an all-time high, and that we should do something really good with that information, like propose that we worry about development first and winning second.
I'm 35 years old, Brandi. Well, you don't know that, but I just told you. My eyes rarely leave Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I didn't grow up with that being the norm. I mean, we didn't have email till I was a freshman in college. But social media, to me, makes the world a smaller place, and you've mentioned it a couple of times in this interview. Do you believe that's played a part in the popularity of the World Cup in this country in particular, but really overall this year?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we've shown, again, I'm going to go back to the data. The data says that we are the chattiest country in the world. We love to share ideas. We love to listen to other people's ideas. We love to give our opinion. And I think with this World Cup, what's happened is our eyes maybe have been opened up a little bit wider to a population that maybe didn't grow up watching World Cup, and for people like my young son who's 8 years old, this could be the first World Cup that he remembers. And so for him to hear the names of the players, to watch the players in action, to see every single minute of the World Cup, no doubt has impacted his awareness of the game, his maybe mimicry, going out to the soccer field and practicing the things that he's seen. So it's truly impacted the World Cup in a way that the numbers don't lie. I mean, it's millions upon billions of people talking through social media about what's happening in this World Cup.
That was Brandi Chastain, again, member of the U.S. women's national team, the one who hit the winning PK in the 1999 World Cup final against China. We do have a part two to my conversation with her from earlier today. We're going to bring you that coming up just after this short break. And I want to tell you a little something about it before we go to break. I asked Brandi who she picks to win the World Cup, and you might get a little tickled at her answer. And you might get even more tickled at what I have to say to her about her answer, especially in light of today's whipping of Brazil. That's coming up, folks. Part two of my conversation with Brandi Chastain after we pay a few bills during Game On WDUN. Part two of my conversation with Brandi Chastain includes her pick for World Cup victors. But prior to that, we talked about the fact that in this World Cup, there have been many great matches. And there have been a few that have ended in PKs. So I asked Brandi, when she watches a match that ends that way, whether it's in this World Cup or just in soccer as a whole, what memories does it bring back for her? What emotions does it evoke?
Well, I think initially it elicits this complete and utter joy, obviously, of having been given the opportunity to participate with the Women's World Cup, in the Women's World Cup and with the national team, and then to be put in that position that you dream of as a young kid out on the playground, and which kids are doing all over this country right now during this time of the year. And, having a chance to contribute in a positive way obviously has changed my life. It's given me a platform to talk about things that I care about, the safety of kids in soccer, Title IX, and the opportunity to have a higher education and gain a scholarship at the collegiate level, World Cup soccer. So, all these things I have been given because of that moment have literally changed my life. So I'm grateful to the game. I'm grateful to the exposure that it gave to me personally, but really to the values and virtues that I learned while I was on the playing field.
You've mentioned a couple of times over the course of our time together, and I, again, really appreciate you being willing to have a conversation. You've mentioned the safety of kids in soccer, and I do know that this is a movement that you have, you're behind 100%. It always blows my mind that people aren't talking more about safety in soccer, because these young people, college age, national team members, they don't wear pads, and it's as physical a game as basketball, and sometimes can be as physical as football, maybe not with the, head-to-head contact, but still physical. What can parents do for kids? What can kids do to make sure that they stay safe on the soccer field?
Well, I think number one is we have to educate our parents and our coaches, and therefore and ultimately our players about how to protect themselves. And myself and two former teammates of mine, Joy Fawcett and Cindy Parlow-Cohn, have joined together with the Sports Legacy Institute in Boston and the Santa Clara University's Institute of Sports Law and Ethics to make safety a priority at the youth level. We'd like to see heading taken out of the game until the age of 14, and that's due to science, that's due to the inherent risk that I think comes with sport. If we can teach our young kids the basics and develop them with their foot skills, spatial awareness, landing and jumping, body positioning, I think by the time that they're physically more mature, we integrate heading into the game. They'll be more ready and prepared to handle that kind of dynamic that maybe as a young 8, 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and 12, 13-year-old, they're not really ready to handle. And therefore, as a country, we can, and hopefully collectively as a world, we can prepare young kids in a way that they've never been prepared before. We can save some kids from retiring early from sports due to concussions, and ultimately we can make the game better and safer.
Fantastic
and if
insight.
If they want information, they can go to safersoccer.org, and we can share some more information with them.
I know a lot of people out there do want that, and we appreciate you sharing that with us. Want to wrap up quickly? Who do you have winning the World Cup?
Brazil is difficult to beat. I'm going to have to say I lean towards Brazil to win the World Cup.
Good. I can say that I agree with someone who actually knows the game inside and out. Brandi Chastain, thanks so much for taking time out to talk with me.
Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy today's match.
Here's the thing. Because I pre-recorded that interview about 11:30 this morning with Brandi Chastain, I very well could have cut out the part where she says she has Brazil winning, and I say that I agree with her and was so grateful that someone with insider soccer knowledge validated my thought that Brazil was going to win the World Cup. I very well could have cut that out. But what have we preached from day one here on Game On? That we are all about accountability. And that runs from producer Brian to your intrepid host, Katie B. Davis, all the way to California and Brandi Chastain. We hold ourselves accountable, even when we do something wrong. And boy, did both of us screw that up.